is a great honour to introduce Satish Kumar. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your welcome. A little bit lower, not too loud. In my ears, yeah. Alicia was just telling me that she has two neighbors. On one side, she has Polly Higgins. On the other side, she had Julia Davenport. Two powerful women. And in between, another great power, that's Alicia. When Alicia and I were working together at Dartington, and she's my very dear friend, she said, I've got this opportunity to apply for a job at Hawkwood. Do you know Hawkwood? I said, yes, I do know Hawkwood. Say, they have this vacancy, and should I apply? I said, yes, although I'll miss you, not being at Dartington, but will give you a new opportunity, a new freedom. And now, with two women next to her living each other, and then there's another woman, which was here yesterday, Sheila Elworthy. She's another great power. So I said to Alicia that you four women are the future. You four women are the future. The women power, the feminine power, the feminine principle. At the moment, the world is inundated with too much masculine principle. So we need to embrace feminine principle. Now, good. I would like in my next incarnation, next life, to come back as a woman. And when I think of my great teachers in my life, and I have many wonderful, I'm blessed to have many, many great teachers in my life. But when I think of the most important teacher of my life, that was my mother. And I think all of us who have, all of us have mothers, I think all mothers are heroes. Just imagine the pain, the suffering, the difficulties of bearing a child in your womb. When I have to carry 1 or 2 kilos of weight in my bag, my hand gets tired. And I think, it would be nice if somebody was helping me. But my mother carried me for 9 months. And then bringing me out of her birth canal. Can you imagine? That pain, taking that pain with pleasure. I mean, many of you here, women, you know it all. I'm only imagining. And then, my mother carrying me in her arms. She used to tell me that, because I shared, we did not have this baby cots in India in those days. So, I'll share her bed. And as a child, baby, I'll pee. They did not have nappies either. No baby cot, not nappies. I'll pee in bed and then cry. And my mother used to say, when you cry, I slept on the wet side and I put you on the dry side. That's mother. This is why I call all mothers are heroes. And so my mother taught me to love the world, love nature. When I was 4 years old, I remember walking with her. She had a small holding. She had about 4 or 5 acres of land. She grew beautiful, wonderful, huge watermelons and other kinds of melons. And she grew sesames. And I will take sesame seeds to a miller. And the miller will mill the sesame and make this delightful sesame oil. And then my mother would say, in payment, give the what do you call that residue? When you take the oil out, what is left behind, you give that to the miller, so the miller can feed the bullocks and the cows that he has. So I used to take that sesame seed. So my mother will take me walking walking to the field. It was about 1.5, 2 miles away. And so we walk. And my father had a horse. And sometimes she would say, why don't you go on a horse? The horseman will take you there. So mother would say, how would you like if horse wanted to ride on you? She never rode a horse. She said, I have 2 wonderful legs. Why should I need a horse to ride? Animal, poor animal, riding on the horse. So she will take me to the, and I started to walk. So I became a pilgrim from age 4, 5, walking with my mother in nature. Wonderful, wonderful nature. And then we will walk and she will show me about the trees. And she will say, the tree is our greatest teacher. Even greater than the Buddha. And I would say to my mother, Mother, how can anybody be a greater teacher than the Buddha? Everybody says the Buddha was the greatest teacher of India. So my mother would say, ask them, where did the Buddha got his enlightenment? While sitting under a tree. So, who is the great teacher, the tree or the Buddha? Sometimes I take that example nowadays and I say, Van Gogh made his paintings of sunflower. Now, who made Van Gogh Van Gogh? Who is greater, the sunflower or the Van Gogh? Sunflower can exist without Van Gogh, but Van Gogh cannot exist without sunflower. That's the beauty of nature. That's the beauty of the seed that we are in this festival of seed. And so my mother would say, look at the tree, the mango tree. You go to mango tree. In India we have mangoes more than apples. Here you can translate that mango into apples in English context. Go to the tree. That one little seed in apple, that tiny seed, that brown little seed. And I think of the seed because of the seed festival here. You plant that little seed. You can't eat it because it's too bitter. It comes by mistake in your mouth and you spit it out. And what you spit it out goes into this beautiful, wonderful, gorgeous mother soil. That's another mother, our mother soil. We forget our mother soil. We take her for granted. Quite often, lots of people take their own mother for granted. And when they become clever, they criticize their mothers. I say, when you criticize your mother, remember she carried you in her womb for 9 months. However she is, don't criticize your mother. Please take this pledge today from me. Never criticize your mother. Whatever she does, whatever wrong things she may do, never criticize your mother. Mother for us is so precious. I can cry. I can cry when I think of mother. Mother principle. And so that seed goes into the soil, the mother soil. And mother gives birth again to that seed into a beautiful plant and a beautiful tree. And that beautiful tree, the apple tree, and particularly in this area of Gloucestershire and Somerset and Dorset and Devon, there's a beautiful trees of apples. I have 15 apple trees in my garden. I love apples. I make apple juice with my own hand, with a hand press, wooden hand press. And that juice is like nectar. If you have not drunk the apple juice made by your own hand with English apples, you don't know what apple juice is like. Never touch the golden delicious. They are neither golden nor delicious. And so, apples, I love apples. And that apple seed coming into the seed, that one seed, that's the generosity of that seed, the generosity of that soil, the generosity of that water, the sunshine, the generosity, unconditional generosity and love. That seed becoming a tree. From one tiny seed, you are getting thousands of apples for not 1 year, not 2 years, not 5 years, not 10 years, but depending on the kind of tree you have, it can give you for 40, 50 years of apples from that one seed. Can you imagine? Just see from the eye of your mind that one tiny seed which you planted in the soil, the mother soil, a mother giving birth to that soil, from that soil, mother giving birth to that seed into a tree, and that tree giving you thousands of apples. This is the abundance of nature. The abundance of Mother Nature. Again, nature is our mother. This is why I talk about feminine principle. The soil is our mother, nature is our mother, our own mother is our mother. And that nature mother and soil mother giving those apple trees of generosity, unconditional. You go to apple tree, it never asks you, have you got your Visa card? It never asks you for any money. It never discriminates against anyone. Unconditional, unlimited, indiscriminate love and generosity coming from that mother principle, that feminine principle that I talk about. That generosity in love. You go, whoever you are, you don't have to be an Oxford graduate or Cambridge graduate to get apples. You can be educated, uneducated, scholar, scientist, artist, teacher, farmer, peasant, black, white, young, old, man, woman, human, animal, birds, wasps, bees, insects, whoever you are, take apples. That is called unconditional love. You don't have to read the Bible. You don't have to read Buddha's teachings. You don't have to go to Hindu scriptures of Bhagavad Gita. The greatest book of spirit is the book of nature. The greatest book is those trees and those plants that we have around us coming from the seed. And so that unconditional, that unlimited, and acceptance, the key to mother principle is acceptance. The masculine principle is principle of expectations. And the mother principle is principle of acceptance. Just put some thought and some concentration on these two words, acceptance and expectation. When you have expectation, you are always disappointed. Because your expectations are never fulfilled. Because what you imagine, what you plan, what you think you expect somebody to be, if you are expecting something today, this morning, you'll be disappointed. Come here without expecting anything. And miracle will happen. If you expect miracles, they won't happen. But if you don't expect, but accept what is going to happen, it's a miracle. Just Satish being here is a miracle. You being here is a miracle. What has brought us together? Alicia, yes. But there's something more than that. Something has brought us together. That is a miracle. If you accept things life as it is, your mother is a miracle. Your wife is a miracle. I have lived with my wife, June, for 43 years. And I'm every day blessing myself. Every day I say, how fortunate I am that a man like me, with warts and all, a woman can say, I give you my life to live with you. Can you imagine that kind of sacrifice that a wife makes for husband? To say, I will live with you for the rest of my life. That is a kind of, and I accept, the acceptance of your wife, the acceptance of your husband, acceptance of your children, acceptance of your mother, acceptance of the weather as it is. Accept things as they are and then work with them. Then transform. Transformation happens from the ground of acceptance. And acceptance requires trust. And expectation has fear. Trust is the feminine principle. Again, trust is the feminine. It's a receptivity. Receptivity is the feminine principle. And so when you trust, you plant the seed in the ground, you trust. The sun will shine, the rain will come, the bees will pollinate, the gardeners will water, everything will happen, and the tree will give you fruit. Trust the nature. Modern days, we don't trust anything. We live in fear. And fear, you have to drop the fear if you want acceptance. I learned to trust when I went around the world walking. When I was 25-years old, I was in a city called Bangalore. And one day, with a friend, I went to a coffee house to have a little discussion, to a chat, and a coffee. And then suddenly I picked up a newspaper and I read that in England, and I've never been to England, I was only 25-years old, never been out of India. In England, a great philosopher, Nobel Prize winning philosopher, Bertrand Russell, has been arrested and put in jail. Why? Because he was protesting against the nuclear weapons. And when I read this, and I was a Gandhian, I was working in the peace and non-violent movement, and I said to my friend, look, read this news. Here's a man of 90 going to jail for peace in the world. What are we doing, young man, sitting here, drinking coffee? We have to do something. We have to do something for peace. What can we do? And we talked. And we talked. And after about 1 hour, we came with an idea. The idea was that we should walk to Moscow, Paris, London, Washington, D.C., the 4 nuclear capitals of the world at that time. That was a very exciting idea. We have never been out of India, but very exciting. And then we went to see our guru, called Vinoba Bhave. And Vinoba said, oh, wonderful idea. I give you my blessing. But I have to give you an advice, a piece of advice. What is your advice? My advice to you is, go without any money in your pockets. Any money? Sometimes we need a cup of tea. And Vinoba said, universe will provide you a cup of tea. Can you imagine? Universe will provide you a cup of tea. When you were born, you did not come in the world with a job, with a PhD degree, with any CVs. Who put the milk in the breast of your mother? You didn't have any money. You have no bank account. You were a little baby of 1 year old, or 1 day old, 2 days old, 5 days old. And the milk burst out of the breast of the mother. Who provided? Trust. Trust the universe and go. He was our guru. And you know, in India, the relationship between a guru and disciple is very special. It's not a dilettante relationship that you take the advice when it suits you. So I said, you are our guru, you are a wise man, you have experience, we will take your advice. So we started walking from the grave of Mahatma Gandhi without a penny in our pockets. This is the way you drop your expectations. When you have no money, you can't expect anything. You have to accept whatever happens. So we started from the grave of Mahatma Gandhi and walked through India up to the border of Pakistan. And in India it was easy, no problem, because people knew, newspapers were writing, these 2 peace marchers going to Moscow, Paris, London, Washington without money, what's going to happen to them? Everybody was interested. But when he came to the border of India and Pakistan, all our friends, or many of our friends and family members and colleagues, they came to say goodbye. And one of my very dear friend, her name was Kranti, she came to me and said, Satish, aren't you crazy? Why? You are going to Pakistan, our enemy country? We had 3 wars between India and Pakistan by that time over Kashmir. And you are going without food, without money, and walking. Muslim country, enemy country. So I said, our guru has told us to go without any money. She said, no, forget your guru. I brought some food for you. Take some money from me. Very nice smelling Indian food like that restaurant there. And I looked at the food. Very nice smelling, very tempting. But I said, my dear friend Kranti, these packets of food are not packets of food. They are packets of mistrust. What am I going to say to my Pakistani host? That I did not trust you, whether you will feed me or not, so I have brought my own food all the way from India. That's not what Vinoba said, trust. Vinoba said, the wars begin in fear. Peace begins in trust. So if you are going for peace, you have to trust. I'm not going to take your food. I'm not going to take your money. I somehow mustered and managed to get my courage in my heart. But my friend was not happy. She started to cry, tears in her eyes. I said, Kranti, why are you crying? You are not going. I'm going. Why are you crying? She said, Satish, this might be our last meeting. You are going to these Muslim countries, Christian countries, communist countries, capitalist countries, mountains, deserts, forests, no money, no food, walking. How are you going to survive? That was the test of the trust. And I thought for a minute, and I said to my friend, if I don't get food, I will say, this is my opportunity to fast. Good occasion. If I don't get shelter, I sleep under the stars. And I'll call it a 1,000,000-star hotel. People sleeping in 5-star hotel will be envious. And if I die, I won't notice if I'm dead, but I will think about dying. I'll say, the best death I can have is dying and while working and walking for peace. So today I drop the fear of hunger, the fear of being homeless, and fear of death. Now that is where I found trust in my heart. It's a long story. 2.5 years of journey, 8,000 miles without money, through Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, Moscow, Poland, Germany, Belgium, France, England, met Bertrand Russell. He was 92 by then. And he said, when you wrote to me from India, said that you are walking from India, I said, I never see you, I'm old man, but you have walked fast. And then he said, you walked without money. Can I give you some money to cross the Atlantic? I said, Lord Russell, we have not touched money for 2 years. We cannot touch money. But if you will help us with 2 tickets. And so he said to his PA, his secretary, say, please arrange 2 tickets. I said, we are not going to fly. We'll take a boat. So he got us tickets in Queen Mary. And we sailed from Southampton in luxury of Queen Mary. Oh, the boat was big enough we could walk up and down. It was a very big boat. And then we arrived in Washington, D.C., and we ended at the grave of John F. Kennedy. From the grave of Mahatma Gandhi to the grave of John F. Kennedy, to make the point that you have to trust if you want peace in the world. If you don't trust, and if you believe in the gun, a gun kills not only a bad person, but a gun can also kill a Gandhi. A gun can also kill a Kennedy. Therefore, shift your trust, shift your faith in the gun, and put your faith in non-violence and peace. And then we were very fortunate. We met Martin Luther King. Bertrand Russell, Martin Luther King. What a joy it was. But you can do that. They will meet you only if you walk. If you arrive by aeroplane, Martin Luther King say, who is that person coming? I'm too busy. But you have walked from India for peace. Oh, I want to see you. I want to talk to you. I want to hear your stories. How did you do it? We're very lucky. So the story I tell you, the whole story is in my books, you can read it. But the story I tell you is to remind you this feminine principle. Whether it's a seed, whether it's a birth, whether it's acceptance, whether it's trust, whatever it is, we need to embrace the feminine principle if we want this world to be safe. The masculine principle has dominated the world too long. It's analytical, too rational, too much planned, too much expectations, too much control, too much sort of domination. Those are the masculine. You need a little bit of that. Little bit of that. So I always say to my friends like Alicia and Polly, say, yeah, you need to develop a little bit of masculine principle as well, so that you don't get trampled over. But feminine principle, we men need to learn more and embrace more. And when the balance, the dance between the feminine and the masculine, the dance together, that is the best of both worlds. Because we all have both principles in us together. We are not just men or women, although physically we may be, but in our body, everything we have, feminine and masculine. We have one mouth, which is the masculine, going out, extrovert, but we have 2 ears to listen. One mouth, 2 ears. We have a double feminine. Yeah. You know, as you have H2O, I say F2M. 2 part feminine, 1 part masculine. So I think it's a wonderful festival, and this festival of seed is symbol of feminine principle. The soil is a feminine principle. Trust is a feminine principle. Acceptance is principle. So I wish you a wonderful day today, and whenever it is until the end of this seed festival. Thank you for coming today and listening to me. Thank you very much. I've left a lot of time, at least 20 minutes, for questions, so that it's a question answer is more feminine, participatory. So if anybody would like to ask any question or make any comment, please feel free to do so. Yes, please.
Satish, I'm a little bit confused.
Yes.
Because you talked about acceptance of everything.
Yeah.
I can't accept what is happening to beautiful Mother Earth at the moment.
Yeah.
And if we did, there wouldn't be any positive change, would there? It will all be over. I mean, we have to fight a little bit, don't we?
You know, you heard my story, and I told you my story of walking for peace. For most of my life, I've dedicated in the service of the Mother Earth. Through Resurgence magazine, through Schumacher College, through the small school, going around talking, protesting, being activist. So acceptance does not mean surrender. World is as it is. We accept the world as it is, with its warts and all. Like I said, my wife accepts me for 43 years, living with me with warts and all. I'm not a perfect husband. I accept my mother as she is. She may not be perfect mother, but for me she is perfect. So the world is as it is. Now by accepting that, then you work with it. And you do everything in the service of the world. You are not so much trying to change the world. You are trying to serve the world. Even the Buddha did not manage to change the world. Even Jesus Christ did not manage to change the world. He said, love your neighbor as yourself, again and again and again. But people don't love their neighbors as themselves. Mahatma Gandhi could not change the world. Martin Luther King could not change the world. Mother Teresa could not change the world. But they all put their service in this world. This is why we have so beautiful world as well. We have awful world. We have Iraq war, we have ISIS war, we have Afghan war, we have poverty, we have hunger. So many problems I can list, long list I can make. I do all the time in resurgence. But there is also more love in the world than hate. More peace in the world than war. More generosity in the world than meanness. How many people in the world are fighting war at the moment? Out of 7 billion people. 100,000? 200,000? 500,000? How many soldiers are there? But if you take 7 billion people in the world, large numbers, 70, 80, 90% of the people are. Mothers are giving birth and feeding their babies. Husbands are looking after wives and wives looking after husbands. Teachers are teaching children. Doctors are looking after patients. Nurses are looking after people. There is so much love in the world. We have to celebrate that love. And then with that energy, we serve the world to reduce poverty. We serve the world to reduce war. We serve the world to reduce the ecological destruction. The ecocide which is happening in the world. Polly Higgins is doing such a wonderful work with her feminine energy. So I'm not saying you don't do it, you become passive. You dedicate your life. I have dedicated my life. Mother Teresa dedicated her life. Bengali Mathai, Vandana Shiva, Polly Higgins, all these wonderful. Dedicate your life in the service of the humanity. Not for yourself, but for the service of humanity. And do it with pleasure. Devote your life in the service of peace, ecology, environment, organic, sustainability, all the values you love. But do it with pleasure. Don't expect the world will change or not. You will be changed. When I went around the world, I don't know if the world changed or not. If the nuclear weapons stopped or not. At least they have not been used. But it changed me. So your own transformation is very important. So I'm not asking you to be passive. I want you to be an activist. I want you to dedicate your life in the service of humanity and the earth, but without expectation. Do your work for its own sake. You love someone, you love for love's sake, without any expectation. You do your duty, your service, because it's good to do. It will give you pleasure, it will give you joy, it will give you ananda. When you make a cup of tea for me, I say thank you. You say, don't thank me, it's my pleasure. That's a service, my pleasure. If you thank me, Satish, thank you for giving me a talk. I'll say to you, it was my pleasure, I enjoyed giving a talk. So if you do it for your own pleasure, you will be liberated. If all of us do that way, all of us will be liberated. And there will be less problems in the world. So I'm not asking you to be passive. I'm asking you to be superior, higher level of consciousness, where you can do miracles without expecting miracles. If you expect miracles, they won't happen. If you don't expect miracles, they will happen. That's the feminine principle. Okay, next question. Next question.
Yes, just
Yeah, there.
We were having a conversation. So
Yeah.
just before coming into this talk,
Yeah.
a small group of us were having a conversation about honouring the masculine.
Yeah.
And I just wondered what your thoughts were on that subject.
Yeah. I said we need a balance. Honoring the masculine is good. We need to learn some masculine skills, like speaking is masculine, listening is feminine, receiving is feminine, giving is masculine, and both are dancing together. There is no one or the other. We need to have two together. But there's also a masculine domination and a masculine desire to control and desire to expect, desire to plan, to rationalize, to sort of analyze, all those things. They are needed. I'm not against anything. Everything in the universe is created for some purpose. But when something goes out of balance, then it becomes a problem. If it was too much feminism and no masculinism at all, perhaps I'll be talking about developing our masculine aspect. But at this moment in the world, I feel that masculine principles are a bit too dominant, and therefore we need to develop feminine principles. Particularly, I speak as a man. But at the same time, I say to women that develop your masculine side, skills of communication, skills of going out, skills of doing things, extrovert. All those skills are needed. So if women can develop that who are not in that sphere, and men can slow down a little bit and a little bit subdue their extrovertness, that will be a good balance. So yes, celebrate the sacred masculine, put the sacred before that, because there's a kind of, yeah, and celebrate the sacred feminine. Both wonderful. But we both have in us. Yes, next one. Yes, please.
Yes. I wonder if you talk about us balancing the feminine and the masculine, if you had any thoughts about in the world, like being the West being a bit more masculine, if there are other nations that you see that are more representing the feminine principle.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can say, roughly speaking, the East represents a sort of feminine principle, and the West is more masculine, roughly speaking. But within East, there is West, and within West, there is East. I often say to my friends that Britain gave India cricket, but in return, India gave Britain yoga. So there is that. But I think we need to bring those two together. East and West should come together. And West should learn something from the East without losing its own special qualities. And East must learn from the West without losing its own spirituality. So science, you can say, to some extent, is masculine. Western and masculine. Spirituality is to some extent Eastern and feminine. But we need both. Without science, spirituality is not enough. Without spirituality, science can go astray. Even Einstein said, who was a scientist, he said, he was a great friend of Gandhi, Einstein. He was a great friend of Tagore. He loved India, he loved East. And he said, without spirituality, science is blind. Without science, spirituality is lame. Therefore, we need science and spirituality together. So East and West, let's bring together. Science and spirituality together. Feminine, masculine together. That's the balance that I'm talking about.
Satish? Satish, I have a question.
Which way are you?
Over here, behind you. I just have a question about what you do in your own personal practice to resource yourself as you do this great work, reconnect with the earth. What are some of your personal practices that you do to, you know, drop down again and resource and get clarity of what you need to do?
Yes. I practice some yoga. I practice meditation. Walking meditation is wonderful. Thich Nhat Hanh is a great master of walking meditation. So I walk, we are blessed with Southwest Way along the coast path where I live, North Devon Heartland. So I and my wife June, and my wife June is a very spiritual person. She goes to Plum Village, Thich Nhat Hanh's great community in France. And so she learns a lot of techniques from Plum Village. And so we walk together and we practice walking meditation together. One other thing we do together, June and I, every morning, 7 o'clock, we have tea together. That's a very spiritual time. And we have sort of made a resolve that at that time, we will not talk about domestic things like house or roof leaking or some shopping or what is needed, children or something. We'll talk about spiritual things. So we read Ashtabakra Gita or Bhagavad Gita or teachings of some great teachers. So we start our day with a kind of foundation for some higher values. And so when you are thinking about freedom, liberation, equilibrium, balance, harmony, all those things, you start your day with those sort of readings and those sort of thoughts, then those thoughts permeate throughout the day. And your day, it remains a good balance. It's like having a shower every morning for body. You have a shower for the soul. You have breakfast for the body, you have breakfast for the soul. So your meditation, your yoga, your quiet time, a little of reading with your husband, with your partner, with your children, whoever, sit down together, feel one, feel free, liberated. Because burden is in your mind, burden is in your desires, your expectations. Expectations, drop your expectations and accept the day it has come. And accept the day, children, husband, wife, field, garden, cooking, whatever is there, accept and do it with pleasure. Pleasure is my kind of principle, what I call, a Hindi word is ananda. I don't know what the exact translation, maybe joy or bliss or pleasure. Like I said, make tea with pleasure. Whatever you do, do it with pleasure. Life is short. We are 60, 70 years of working life that we have. During this time, why to inundate ourselves with desires and worries and plans and expectations and fear? All these things are just created in our mind. They are not real. They are not real. They are created in our mind, our desires. So drop them and live freely. Freedom, liberation. So this is how my personal practice is. Start the day with supreme thoughts, spiritual thoughts, meditation, and then stay with those thoughts throughout the day. And whoever is working, I'm blessed that I have been given this opportunity to edit Resurgence magazine for the last 42 years. Isn't that a blessing? I am in the service of my readers. And I'm blessed that I have been given opportunity to work at Schumacher College and a small school. And I'm blessed that Alicia and Victoria invites me to speak here. So every day come with blessing after blessing after blessing. And we moan and groan about little things going wrong here and there. So drop those little things. As I said, in the world, only a small minority of people are engaged in war. Majority of people are engaged in peace. In the same way, in our own personal life, majority of time is good. Only small things. How many times do you get angry in the day? Once or twice? Maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes? But majority of time you are loving and caring person. So focus on your good side. Don't be too self-critical. Too self-critical is also very kind of rational mind, always self-critical. Don't condemn yourself. You are very special and unique, every one of us. A gift to this earth, gift to this world. And so don't criticize yourself too much. Don't condemn yourself too much. Accept yourself as you are. That's what my personal practice is. I focus on good things, blessings that I have, and I'm grateful. With gratitude, every day, that gratitude in my heart, I live happily. I'm 79-year-old this year. And so no lack of energy, no lack of love. I'm full of blessing. So that's my daily practice.
Wow.
Some books there, which I'll be happy to sign if anybody would like to get some. Also, there are some flyers about our Resurgence summer camp. So we hold summer camp, so please take a flyer from there. And also, if you are not a subscriber to Resurgence, please subscribe and support. Next year will be 50th anniversary of Resurgence. Yeah.
So, it's so blessing that you come. This is the Seed Festival version of coming to church on Sunday morning. We have Satish. So, well, one more rousing applause for Satish coming this morning.
Spend the day with love, end the day with love, sweet love. That's the way to go.
Way to go.
Start the day with love, spend the day with love, end the day with love. Love, that's the way to go.
Fantastic. So you'll be book signing over there at the bar, and do pick up your flyer for the Resurgence camp later in August, is it?
Yes, end of July, beginning of August.
Fantastic. Oh, thank you. And we've got a really big day set up. We've got Susu coming on the stage again with his brother, who played last night. And enjoy your day. We're so set up. Thank you again, Satish.